Hi guys, this is Sean with FFVII Gaming, and this is going to be the first episode of my Let's Play of an old classic that is still today my favorite game. Final Fantasy VII. Now I have it downloaded on my PlayStation. In the main beginning of the menu you have continue or new game. We're going to go with new game. I'm going to start completely fresh. And yeah, welcome back to the world of horrible graphics, good storyline, and good games, as well as horrible translations, because everybody knows the translations on most of the Final Fantasy games from this era were horrible. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about spoiling the story for this, because almost everybody knows how this game goes who actually played back then. But at the same time, this is, to me, it's like going back to an era, you know, when gaming was like a lot more fun. Let me see if I can adjust the screen size. Other settings, screen mode, full screen. There we go. But for me, this is back when gaming was fun, when games were more gripping, you know? And as I said, shitty graphics, but back then this was revolutionary. This game was released, I think, in the same year that the PlayStation was released, if I remember correctly. And this was one of the biggest releases at the time. And a lot of people really praise this game, and this game gets a lot of hate too because of the fanboy following of it. I mean, shit, I still have my original Final Fantasy VII copy. So, I'm not gonna say I'm a complete fanboy, but I do love the game. I just don't get all super emotional when people say, oh, it's not the best game ever. Because to a lot of us it was. So, this game was highly anticipated on the release. I still remember the commercial where it says, if you fail, there's always a reset button. But yeah. Now, as far as characters' names are concerned and stuff, I like being able to change the names and name them myself, because it gives you more of a connection to the game to see familiar names and friends as well as yourself in these games. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the gameplay. As you see, like I said, the graphics are not that great, but the backgrounds look really good when you really consider it. This is back during the start of the whole 3D gaming era. Figure out how exactly I still played this and stuff. Yeah, can't use control sticks. There's usually a potion on, I think, both of the guards that got taken out. First fight. Now, a big part of Final Fantasy VII was knowing how to use your characters and knowing how to conserve. Conservation of stuff is really important, and through the first mission you can pretty much hack and slash your way all the way to the final boss. The whole first, I'd say, third of the, well, maybe even the first eighth of the first disc, because the first disc is so massive, you really don't have to focus on really developing your characters and stuff, trying to make everybody a lot more powerful, because they just kind of grow at their own rate. Once you get to the later part of the first disc, that's where you focus on your character development. Or go into the menu and configure some things. This one actually holds true to the actual Japanese settings that a lot of people know. Circle being the confirm button, and everything else being kind of reversed and shit. And I like having the green background on this. That's just personal preference. We're gonna go green and black. about what I'm gonna do for this. I'm probably not gonna have all the text chat up real quick, like extremely long, because I've basically beat this game probably 30 times. While I'm in here, you got your item menu where you got basic items now. Eventually you get so many items that it takes a minute to scroll through. You got your magic, which is all based off of Materia, which unlocks later in the menu right here. Your equipment, you start out with nothing. There's not a whole lot of options for equipment, but it's simplified. It's kind of nice in my opinion. Status. Alright. Now you see your stats, your strength, dexterity, and all that. That takes a key role later on when you really consider how you're going to equip your characters with materia. Is he going to be a melee fighter or a magician, magic user, whatever you want to call it? You really only have one pure magic user in the game, which is Ares. Other than that, most of your people are all going to be mainly melee, so you have to decide which one's going to suffer the hit to the melee damage to try and support your party. But there are various materials that you want to have, and you want to level as many of them as possible, like cure, stuff like that. Anyways. Oh yeah, the elements, elemental resistance and stuff like that comes in play a lot later. Your effect resistance, that's, once again, another one of those things that comes in a lot later, especially with the battle square, once you get the ribbon. Let's go ahead and exit out of here and go ahead and get to the gameplay. Getting used to the controllers again. Okay. These are some minor characters that you play with through the first part. I call it Midgar Arc. Now you get to change your name instead of being an ex-soldier. I'm gonna go with my standard, which is you kind of start out being an asshole. It's about to the point where you, I think you get Barrett here, or just next. Alright. Barrett's kind of the hard ass of the group, but he's actually ends up being pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and name him after probably my best friend, Hunter. First mission goes pretty straightforward. The second mission is just as easy as the first one, but it's kind of just, I'd say it's a character building arc. I probably won't be putting up too much of the like level grinding and shit to you guys, but I will be giving some tips on that. So there might be times where I'll jump in and I'll be like a different level or something like that than what y'all saw before. That's all really just in the interest of timing on this. Once I start getting up to full party, I'll start talking about positioning and all that shit too. Right here, I'm trying to reserve as much MP as I can. Not really that it's that important, but it's good to have as much MP as you can for the final fight where you actually do start using magic. I'll show some of my favorite grinding points for unlocking limit breaks too. And here's the big evil music of the Mako reactors, the theme. The score for this game was really good too. It was pretty engaging. There's not many games that have like so much signature music for it. Like this one right here, you hear it a lot throughout the game. I'm going to talk a little bit about positioning. Barret you want to keep in the back. You want him in the back. Why? It reduces the damage he takes, and he has a ranged weapon, which does the same damage no matter where he's positioned. And there for a while, I liked getting the long-range Materia and equipping it to Cloud, because you can do extreme amounts of damage and take almost no damage yourself. But then again, you have to decide what's more important to you: doing the damage, taking less damage, or taking more damage and building your limit break up. I personally like getting my limit breaks pretty quickly, especially later on when you get the really good ones. Go ahead and get through it. Funny story about this part. When I lived in South Carolina, my friend Jacob, who was the one who got me started, kept trying to go over here to the yellow circle thing and use that as the button. He couldn't find the button. We literally spent an hour trying to figure out where the button was. I mean, it was freaking hilarious. And then he quit playing the game, and we played some Road Rash. Got bored with that, and then went back to playing this. Alright. Now what you're seeing here is your main character's trying to act as indifferent as he can, while everyone else is trying to stress him into, I guess, being a full-fledged member of Avalanche. A lot of people say they can't follow the storyline of this game, but it's relatively simple. Even though it is a really deep game. We're approaching the main point. Mission. That's one thing that annoyed me about this game, probably, was the fact that you always have these freaking random encounters. We'll go ahead and use bolt magic to take this guy out. Different enemies have different weaknesses and different elements. A lot of the times I don't really pay much attention to that shit, but in some cases it's really helpful. And that Final Fantasy VII victory music, that will stick to your, that will like stay in your head too. A friend of mine used to use that as the ringtone that he had. I've actually thought about going back to using that as mine too. Oh. Maybe one day. Get rid of those things. He got my last. And there it is. If I remember correctly, I didn't ever really pay much attention to it myself, but I always hear that Barret has like the highest defense in the game. Now while I say I don't really pay much attention to that myself, he is one of the more important characters to develop early on, simply because you do have an area where you have to use him, you have no other options. You also want to develop him a little bit and unlock some limit breaks with him and stuff for one of the later levels where you'll actually want to use him, otherwise you miss out on his ultimate weapon, which really would suck. So yeah. Oh, so many fucking random attacks. Just kind of fighting my way through to the next stage of the game. Go ahead and talk about some of the things like the Materia. There's a tutorial that you can watch on the Materia and stuff, but it's kind of a waste of time. At least to me anyway, since I pretty much know it all already. You have different types of Materia. You have the purple, which is independent, the green, which is magic, the blue, which is support, and the command Materia, which is yellow. Oh, and summon Materia, which is red, which a lot of people like, I guess. I like summons, but I don't really use them that much anymore. Like, the last playthrough I did, I didn't ever really use any of them other than Knights of the Round occasionally. They just seem to take forever and can be kind of a waste of time because they're not always as strong as you would want them to be. But they can be pretty strong. This right here is a save point. Really important. You want to save every chance you get. Really good in case you miss something. I think this is the last area of this mission. Yeah, the reactor part. I'm gonna go up, pick up the first restore materia. And this right here, it kind of gives you an insight to how fucked up in the head Cloud is from his past. And I'm not going to spoil that part for anyone who hasn't seen it, but eventually it all kind of falls into place as to why he has those instances like that. Now, this is the boss fight. Not a hard one, actually fairly easy, even though I am kind of weakened. Kind of want to spam bolts. Attack me first. And attack with Barret. Use potions if needed. I'll probably end up needing to use a couple. The trick to fighting this boss is when his tail goes up. So that's when he's pretty much set to do his super attack, I guess you could say. Limit breaks. Limit breaks annoy me in this game, but I don't honestly remember being able to, like, save them and not use limit breaks and use attacks instead. I'm not sure if there's a way to not. Don't quote me on me saying that there's not one. But they are essentially your most powerful attacks, and the ones you get later on are really handy. Here we go. His tail's up. This is where you really don't want to attack him because he'll, like, destroy you. Even though, if I remember correctly, I have beat this guy a couple of times without worrying about his tail attack. It's not that big of a deal, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it right. By the way, while you're in the battle, you have change, defend. Change basically switches you from front line or back line, and triangle cancels you out of that. Minion switches up to your other one. Box just takes it off. Like you check the barrier or something. At this stage, everybody is just so fucking weak. It's kind of pathetic how little damage you do. But later on, you can get a lot more powerful. I just didn't like the fact that your damage is always capped at 9999. There we go. That limits a lot of people's final limit breaks, like Red 13, when you get him, his final one is one hit. And that can really, I guess, really hinder you. Now comes the run the fuck out of here. The first two Final Fantasies for the PlayStation both had these time limit missions. And they're not really that hard. It doesn't really take you 10 minutes to get away from the reactor. If you get, by the way, if you get attacked from the back, just press the escape button. way that this could ever actually take you the whole 2 minutes to get out here is if you get really unlucky with getting random attacks. A lot of people just run from them all, but I'll usually just kill my way out because it don't take you that long. Once again, remember to save. And I believe the timer counts down even while you're in the menu, so try to do this as quickly as the game will allow you. Also hit select to look the little information thingy. I like having that window up sometimes, but it's not always something I would do simply because it does take up part of your screen and it can be kind of annoying to see. But it's nice when you're fighting against some of the enemies where you can't really tell which one you're targeting. So having that up will allow you to see who you're targeting and stuff. That, in my opinion, is probably the best thing about that window. Save Jesse. I like this music too, it gives it kind of a faster pace, like, hey, we need to hurry up and get the fuck out of here. Oh, great. Alright. Also, while I'm thinking about it, on the limit breaks, so there's 2 limit breaks per level, and you unlock the second limit break just by using the other limit break. That's why a lot of the times you'll probably see me just spam my limit breaks as soon as it's up. Simply because I don't feel like saving it. I want to get my next limit break unlocked. And then to unlock the next level, you have to get like a certain amount of kills. And there's actually a really good guide for that on GameFAQs.com. I know because even the actual Brady Games release guide did not... I don't recall it ever saying anything about how to unlock the limit breaks. I actually still have that book. But I don't think it had that information funny if I had found the button first and then my dude Jacob couldn't find it. I would have literally probably just sat there and let him go through this part and get blown up. As I said, it doesn't take 10 minutes to get out of the reactor. It shouldn't take anybody that long to do it. I know the first time I played through it was like, why am I blowing up this reactor? And that kind of gets... it kind of becomes apparent to you later on. Like what the reactor's for and stuff like that. When he's talking about that should keep the planet going at least a little longer. The reactors are Mako reactors and they take like the life of your the planet basically. I guess it's kind of a pseudo metaphor for the way we do with our natural resources like oil and all that shit. You know, we're kind of sapping the life of our planet by using up all our natural resources. That's kind of what this game the big corporation in this game is kind of doing. My first couple of playthroughs on this, I never really had a problem with managing the money from it and stuff. But I know my last playthrough, I'd stayed broke at retarded ass areas. Let's see. This is your chance to kind of build a relationship with Ares. You'll get her later. But by doing all this, certain choices you make and certain events in the game do change people's reaction to you. I think this was one of the earlier games that had that effect, where there was actually kind of a game memory. And if you're looking for the easy way to get out of there, just kind of follow the flower girl. All these people are just running around like idiots. There's a potion right here. I know a lot of people usually just run from these guys because it's quicker. But I don't know, I always fought them all because your health and everything's replenished and it's pretty much free XP. Plus you're building up your limit break. It gets you closer to your next limit break. I kind of forget if this one does the cumulative experience thing, where it's like as you level up, your other people level up. I don't recall if it does or not. I think it kind of does, but not exactly like at a constant rate. And that's the one thing that kind of pisses me off about Final Fantasy VIII is when you can't use your other people, they don't level up. I spent a lot of time kind of grinding out some magic and stuff, drawing magic and stuff in training grounds, and like my squad was like level 20 with everyone else being level 8. And shit like that happens. I kind of miss my game chart. Alright, I think there's one more fight. I think it's 7 uses with Braver to get cross slash. I know there was... I think there was actually one time I played through here and I had, I was up on Cloud's level 2 limit breaks before I even left Midgar. I think I saw somewhere a guy actually had all the way up to level 3 unlocked with all of his main characters before leaving Midgar. I could probably do that pretty easily, but it would just be so freaking time consuming. And my limit break grinding area works a lot better. Alright, so we completed the first mission. This is where your main character gets to do his I'm that guy, that cool guy type intro, where there's a little dramatic entrance and shit. The game can be kind of cheesy at times. That's something where you could think about, like, he was on top of the train walking to get to this car, and he was probably sitting there trying to think, alright, what can I say? You were worried about me? Oh, it's so sweet. From a psychological point of view, Jesse kind of falls in love with you because of your being her savior and all that crap. But that's not really explored much in this game. This game has two romances. It's like a romance triangle between you, Tifa, and Aerith. Or Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith. As you kind of have to do. I guess they decided to show this to kind of progress the storyline instead of doing the actual, like, timeline progression. Which I guess is pretty cool. I know the next mission's train ride is a lot more, I guess, active. I remember the first time I played through that one, I actually had a glitch in the original. Good thing about playing on console is I don't have to be sitting in front of a computer, in front of the damn TV the whole time. All I have to do is adjust my mic. I can actually play just chilling out laying in my bed. Yeah, the way they set up the city for this one, it's, I definitely would not live in this city, or, like, underneath the city, because, yeah, that's some weird-ass shit to be dealing with. Because of that fucking pizza, the people underneath are suffering. The CGIs in this game, back then, were really good. I think the only thing that anyone ever really criticized this game of is actual play, like active player models while you're playing. Which, yeah, they're kind of shitty, but if you look at the time that this was released, and look at what came before it, you know, like, I don't know, Mario? The player models in this game are on par, a little bit higher than that. Or if you played GoldenEye, which everybody has, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. You remember the player models for that game being really blockheaded and having weird ass looking faces and shit. So, you know, for the time, this game was actually way ahead of itself. You hear a lot of people say, oh, well, it has some generic characters and all that shit. Nah. The characters really weren't that generic. They're actually really memorable. Once again, as I said, save. You always want to save. That would have been bad. And once I get back to the city, I guess I'll go ahead and call it for part 1 and just start recording part 2. It's good to listen to some of the rumors and stuff. Yeah, it's good to listen to some of the rumors and stuff that people have to say, but always relevant, but it's good to see how the environment of the game evolves. And Tifa, probably one of the most famous RPG player models in, like, history. Simply because, you know, well, everybody knows Tifa's boobs. Her backstory is she's like your childhood friend and all that crap. Okay, who can I name Tifa after? Yeah, well, this game really has no real basis on my own romantic life, so I'm gonna name her after my homegirl. Well, after like I know like 7 or 8 different Nicoles, so it don't really matter either way. Alright, flowers. Now you can decide who you give it to. That gets you brownie points with Barrett, that gets you brownie points with Tifa. And it really don't affect anything until later in the game when you do the whole little dating scenario. Which you can make it really weird with Barrett, or you can have it with Tifa or Aerith. You see how close Barrett is with his adoptive daughter, Marlene. She's actually like his old friend's daughter, who you actually run into later. I'll leave that storyline open for you guys later. Go ahead and finish this part, and then I will be recording number 2 after the. Let's see. get that money, I'm out of here. Now, this is something I didn't read into much on the first playthrough, but on this one, you'll notice Tifa does ask you a bunch of questions that just kind of seem randomly out there. I think it has to pertain with part of the game history, but I'm not going to spoil that much more for y'all guys. Let's see. And you see Barrett, he's overly aggressive and eager to do shit. Bam! It's funny how standoffish this game starts out with your main character and everybody else, but then in the end everybody just kind of connects. Hopefully my recording doesn't get messed up. Flashback to something that's actually fairly relevant to their backstory. This is the town that they were growing up in. Try and speed through this. Basically, all he does is promise to come and save her anytime she gets in trouble if he becomes a soldier. Which soldier is like an elite group of, well, soldiers. Which I'll let it go into a little bit more definition later. If any of you guys haven't played Crisis Core, I would suggest it, but don't hold on to the story being so completely true to this game, because it adds a little bit to it that's not even mentioned in this. But it does give a good backstory to the main characters and some of the history behind the game. So, yeah, that's out on the PSP. It actually should be like really cheap now too, because it was released, I think, when the PSP was fairly new. This part's really sluggish. Why didn't you use the elevator, dude? That shows that you have no good business sense because you didn't set the price earlier. Now you get all nice and rested up. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here, and I guess I'll record the second episode of this Let's Play. So, yeah. If there's anything about this episode that you guys didn't really catch or didn't really fully understand, just let me know. And I can answer any questions you have in the comments. If you like the series, leave a like, leave a comment, leave a rating. Well, like and rating are the same thing. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll be uploading much more of this until I either get really bored with it or it just proves that it's just kind of a lost cause to keep uploading. But until I lose the enjoyment in it, I probably will just keep on doing it. So, yeah. Anyways, you guys have a good one.